Welcome back to Gentle Growth with Ivy. As always, this is Ivy, and today I have a very special guest, Meg Henkenhaf, and she is going to be discussing food freedom. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Meg.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah,
Of
my name
course.
is Meg Henkenhaf. I am a food freedom coach in the online space. And basically, what that means is I help women who are looking to heal their relationship with food, heal their relationship with their bodies, get off of that endless dieting cycle, and
Mhm.
actually eat normally.
I love that because in today's day and age, I feel like diet culture is such a thing, and people don't realize how unhealthy diet culture is. So I'm very excited to have you.
Thank you.
Um, where does your passion come from?
So really how I discovered this was my own recovery from eating disorders, which morphed into disordered eating, which morphed
Mhm.
into yo-yo dieting and the binge restrict cycle from the age of 11 until I was about 28 or 29, and just those
Mhm.
years of ultimately destroying my relationship with food, my body, and getting to that point where I was like, I really don't think I know how I'm supposed to eat or what I'm supposed to eat or how I'm supposed to feel about food or what's normal and what's diet culture and what's disordered and what's me.
Mhm.
And it I really was unhappy. I was really unhappy with the way I was eating, the way I felt, the guilt, the emotions around food and my body. And I didn't actually know about food freedom or intuitive eating. I feel
Mhm.
very lucky that somebody in my life approached me with this concept that I had no idea what it meant. Um,
Yeah.
but I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not try something new? I've been to treatment for my eating disorder. I've been to therapy. I've been to groups. I've read the books. I've done the things I'm supposed to do. Why not give this a shot? And I felt like it kind of just opened like this box of endless possibilities of healing and how I could look at food, how I could look at my body, and even beyond that. Like I think that it just the way that I healed my confidence and
Mhm.
my mindset, I was like, wow, like this is very powerful stuff. And I felt like I said, after years of doing all the things that I was supposed to do when it came to healing my relationship with eating or dieting,
Mhm.
um, I really felt like this is a secret that shouldn't be a secret, and people
Yes.
want to share it with other women out there.
Yes. No gatekeeping around here. I
Yes,
love that. Yeah, because
yes,
a lot of people don't realize that there's so many diets that really is a disordered eating. That's kind of what it is. And I'm very new to like the intuitive eating, and I'm still new to food freedom and all that and truly learning how to eat. So I'm excited to hear what you have to share for sure.
amazing.
Awesome. So I love your passion. I love how you got into this. And is there anything else you'd like to share about how you got to being a food freedom coach?
I think that it was really just my own healing journey.
Hmm.
And I think that's part of what makes myself as a coach and like us in the coaching world really good at what we do is that it comes
Hmm.
from a place of, hey, I've been here. I've done the work. I've felt the pain and I've felt the positive outcome of doing this work. And I think that's
Absolutely.
why also, like when I worked with a coach, I felt so connected and I felt so
Hmm.
heard and I felt so properly guided along
Hmm.
my journey. Um, and that's what really brought me to want to help other people, is to say, hey, I get it. I actually hear you and feel you, and I know what it's like, and I know what pitfalls to avoid and what strategies to use to make this actually stick.
Oh, absolutely. That's something that I discussed about in my last podcast is on our healing journey. It is so, so important to have somebody who can empathize with us and not just give us this guidance that they've learned from a book. And so the fact
Yes.
that you have been through the struggles, you've felt all the pain points, and you have researched so many ways to heal yourself, and you did it. And so, what better person to help somebody else get through those same struggles and pain points as well?
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, I think that, I also do just want to say, like, there is a time and a place for so many healing modalities, right?
Hmm.
And what you said, like, totally hit home. And it's something that I say a lot is like, I've been through it. I didn't just read a textbook and
Hmm.
decide this is how you heal. Um, but I also think that the healing is like a puzzle, right? And you can't
Yes,
build a puzzle with one piece. You've got to
exactly.
incorporate all the pieces. And I think that those other modalities of healing can be a really important part on your journey. But
Hmm.
again, like, I think that, exploring new ones and new things, and perhaps things that you haven't thought of or learned before, can help put that whole puzzle together. So that was part of, what I wanted to do when I was going through and finally, I don't want to say finished my healing journey, because I don't think anyone's ever really ever
No.
finished. But I got to a point where I had reached my food goals, I had reached my body goals, I felt confident, and I felt like literally I had shed that entire part of me, and I was like a new Meg.
Yes.
It was a really beautiful transformation.
Hmm.
And I put everything that I learned together, and I was like, well, this really worked and this
Hmm.
really didn't. This did not help me or serve me, but this did, and this was kind of in the middle. And that was actually how I built my 12-week program that
Oh,
I
I love that.
use with women today. And it does have like those four kind of foundations around
Hmm.
it. And for me, those foundations are your mindset, which
Hmm.
I think is so much more important than anybody is giving it credit for.
Yes.
Your body goals, because let's be serious, that's where a lot of our eating issues can come from. And it's okay
Hmm.
to have body goals, but like, what does that mean?
Yes. And
Uh,
are they attainable?
yeah, are they attainable, and like, what does it mean, what will it mean for you if you don't hit your body goals, which I think
Hmm.
is an important question we need to ask ourselves.
Yeah. It's a good motivator for sure.
Yeah. How to eat with ease, because eating should not be complicated, eating should not
Hmm.
be difficult, it should be joyous.
Yes.
And how to find that radiant confidence, whether it's
Yes.
in your body or how you show up in your business, if you're a female, or any kind of entrepreneur, or how you're showing up in your relationships or for your family, having that radiant confidence that you trust and love who you are. So
Yeah.
those are the sort of foundations that I built the program around.
I love that. And I love how you took your approach and you truly broke it down. So you're not just building something and hoping for a positive outcome. You had a
Yes.
positive outcome and you use that to build your approach, which is wonderful and really what we're looking for in the coaching industry. So
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, it's I love to talk about it. I love to talk about food freedom. I love to talk about all
Hmm.
of those things. And a lot of times when I first start speaking to people, they come to me with the issues of, I'm overeating, I'm
Hmm.
binging at night, I'm snacking too much, I am obsessed about my food, I can't stop thinking about it. And I talk about these pillars in my program, and they're kind of like, yeah, well, but I just need to fix the binging, or I just need to stop obsessing over food, that's all. And
Yeah.
we don't really realize that the binging, the snacking, the endless dieting, the searching for the next best diet, all of those
Hmm.
things are a symptom.
Yeah.
Eating is a symptom of
Hmm.
a problem. And so we have
Yes.
to get down to the problem. And that's where we look at, well, where's your mindset at? Where are
Yes.
your goals coming from?
Hmm.
What kind of confidence do you feel like you have? And
Hmm.
we really go into all of those things to eventually fix that symptom.
Yes. I love how you start with mindset because I don't think a lot of people realize how much your mindset can hinder your growth. Because
Mhm.
if you have such a fixed mindset, you are so fixed on being stuck, and all you can think about is being stuck, you don't have room to think about your growth, and you don't have room to understand that you have growth to go through, and that you really do have potential. And so I love that you start with mindset, and I love that you start with goals as well, because a lot of people don't even know where to start in setting their goals.
Yeah.
So that's really awesome. A lot of people will just focus on their problem, and they're like, how do I just fix the problem? And they don't look at all the other symptoms and places where they need to start. And I think that you are a really good person to come to find all that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it is important. And I think that, I can really sympathize with those people out there who are like, oh, I just need the quick fix. I just need the
Mm-hmm.
tips and tricks. I just need whatever is going to get me what I want in the next 21 days. And
Oh, yes.
because I was there, I did all those
Yeah.
things. I searched for all those things. So I can really
Mm-hmm.
sympathize with people who are looking for that. But
Yeah.
I did do that, and I did it time and time and time again. I did how many 21-day,
Yep.
30-day challenges and fixes that took me years to realize they're not working.
They're band-aids.
Yeah, they're band-aids. They're
And you
band-aids
can't heal with just a
keeping us
band-aid.
mental.
Yeah. Especially when you have such a deep root. It's not a minor thing that we're trying to fix. This is usually, coming from our childhood, which is
100%.
very, very deep. And so if you have this deep wound, you can't fix it with a band-aid. If you are truly struggling with your eating, focusing on a big change for 21 days, you might get a little, 5 pound, loss or something. But if you don't truly find out how to completely, get to the root of that and really fix it, you're going to find yourself repeating those 21 days. And you don't want to do that. You want a permanent fix.
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
that.
Exactly. And I think that that's why, like you were saying before, like we start with mindset, we start with goals, we start with changing. What I like to say is that, like, when you change your mindset to that growth mindset, that open
Mm-hmm.
mindset, that's what's going to facilitate the actual habitual actions that
Mm-hmm.
you want to change. You won't be able to change them or make permanent success with those habits or those actions if your mindset is not in that right place.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. You cannot change if you're not willing to, and your
Exactly.
mindset is what helps you be willing, for sure.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes. So, is there anything else you'd like to discuss on your four-pillar approach?
Yeah. So, I mean, in this 12-week program that I take women through, these are the four pillars, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when I say pillars, these are the main things that we want to focus on to make that permanent change. But in 12 weeks, in like 6 months of support, beyond the 12 weeks, we break it down even more. And like we talked a lot about mindset and shifting mindset. But again, it's like, how do you do these things? Like, this all
Mm-hmm.
sounds well and good, but how do you do these things? So it's really important to break them down. And I'm sure you understand also, like, as a coach, we're walking people through it. We're breaking
Mm-hmm.
it down, we're walking them through it, and we're walking through all of the same things that we went through. So when it comes to things like mindset, gratitude journaling, operating
Yes.
on a growth mindset. It sounds so simple and it sounds so like, whatever. That's like hippy dippy stuff. But every piece is so important. And that's one thing that, I really work on with people.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to things like understanding and getting real about your body goals and falling in love with your body, we really work on, again, like, where do those things come from? Where do those goals come from? What do they mean? And how are you going to achieve success in a body that you do really love? And sometimes that
Mm-hmm.
means you might have physical body goals, and sometimes that might mean we're changing what the goals look like.
Yes.
And I think that one thing that you know, I love working with people once they've hit that piece of like, okay, my mindset is where it needs to be. So let's start doing that, like that
Mm-hmm.
actionable work. And we work on the eating and healing that relationship with food and building a more mindful approach to food. And
Yes.
I think that's such a beautiful piece. That's probably one of my favorite parts of working with people, is once they've got that foundation down and they're working on their mindfulness around food, they start to notice So many changes. Oh my God, I fell in love with this food. Oh my goodness,
Yes.
I realized I don't even like this food and I've been overeating it because I thought I was supposed to. Or I realized what full feels like and I was able to
Yes.
stop and put my fork down and it just it's not just like these glimmers of like, wow, I'm changing the way I eat. It's this the way they talk about it, they're like, I am so empowered. I
Yes.
am so powerful. I am so in control. And this is like I'm making these empowered decisions. And I think
Mhm.
that's probably one of my favorite parts. And when it comes
Mhm.
to being more mindful with your food, I love working with people on exactly what mindful eating is. And
Yes.
you know, if anybody is late listening, they're like, oh yeah, it's like just eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full.
Oh, it's so much more.
Oh, it's so much more.
So much more.
If only it were that simple. But I will,
Mindfulness is a lot more than what people think. That's
yeah,
something that I teach, and it's not what it sounds like, and it's so much deeper than what it looks like.
it's not. And I think that, you know, it's kind of funny. I don't know if this is a good thing to say, but I feel like part of what gives coaches a bad rep is that they trickle out these secrets and they are gatekeeping, really.
Mhm.
So they're just like, yeah, mindfulness is just being aware. And yeah, just eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. And when people are like, well, that's not working, it makes them think like, well, mindfulness is BS then if it's not
Yeah.
working. And the problem is they don't understand how to put it into practice. So
Mhm.
I
And
think
that's why it's important for us as coaches to not gatekeep, because that's
yes,
when we give those just little, sprinkles and not the whole thing, they're like, "Well, I tried that. That don't work. I don't want to work with you." So
exactly.
it's
Exactly.
important. Yep.
100%. And so, yeah, no gatekeeping. You know, if anyone is kind of like, well, how do I eat mindfully? I would love to invite you to next time you have a meal or a snack, for sure. Ask yourself, am I hungry? Am I full?
Mhm.
If I'm hungry, am I hungry for food or am I hungry for mental stimulation or social interaction? Like where else am I hungry? Like being very aware of that. And if you are
Yes.
hungry for food, like 100%. Enjoy that food and enjoy it with all five of your senses. So
Yes.
look at it. What does it look like? What does it feel like in your hands when you touch it? If you're going to touch your food, what does it smell like? You know, what are the textures? What does it sound like when you bite it? Like, and of course, what does it taste like? And being aware
Mhm.
of your food in this way with all five of your senses before you eat it, while you're eating it, this neutralizes your food. This takes your food from being a good or a bad moral thing to it is just
Mhm.
food. It is an object. It has all of these facets and principles to it. And as I'm eating it, I can describe it, I can break it
Mhm.
down, and I can enjoy it and I can appreciate it. And, you know, one other thing that I think a lot of people think is mindful eating is eat for 20 minutes and stop. It's
No.
just like it's just such an arbitrary rule.
Yes.
What this does, what eating your food with all five of your senses does is it does slow you down because you're
Yes.
paying so much more attention to your food and what is going on and how does it feel and how does it taste and how do I feel? And that does increase your satisfaction. And
Mhm.
you know, that was very simple. That took me 2 minutes to describe, but it's just, it unpacks
It
that
makes a
mindful
big
eating
change.
so much more.
Mhm. And it makes it easier to understand when you are full as well, because
Mhm.
I know you mentioned the 20-minute thing. There's so many people that can sit down and they can eat a lot in 20
Oh,
minutes.
yeah.
A lot, and they can do that mindlessly. I know that's something that I struggled with and still do sometimes, because I like to eat for stimulation sometimes, because I have ADHD,
Mhm.
and sometimes I have a hard time recognizing what kind of stimulation I need and when. And so in the past, I would go and I would get the crunchy, super salty, super vinegary food so that I could feel that stimulation. And 20 minutes of that may not be enough because I need more.
Mhm.
Not because I'm hungry, not because I need the actual food, but because my body still needs stimulation. And so then I would just eat and eat and eat until I absolutely could not eat anymore, um, which is not good. And then another thing that you said that I really like too is it's more than just good and bad food, because a lot of people might look at, a little candy bar as a bad food, but you are allowed to have those little treats in your life. You just have to be mindful as to how much of it you've ate, because anything can be good within its moderation.
100%.
Absolutely. So if you're eating a whole bunch of candy bars in one day, that's not good for you. But if you're eating just one candy bar for your little treat of the day, that's totally fine. You absolutely deserve that reward. Um, so I think that someone like you could really help people distinguish the difference between that, and to stop putting the labels of this is good, this is bad.
Absolutely. And,
I love that.
I think that you tapped into something really important because I was recently given an ADHD diagnosis. And
Hmm.
it was one of those things where I was like, oh my goodness, my brain all of a sudden kind of makes sense.
Yes.
Not fighting it anymore, when I'm not fighting the
Hmm.
way my brain works, I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
this is okay. This feels so much better. But you have to adapt to the way your brain works. And
Yes.
stimulation is a huge thing. And especially when it comes to stimulation with food. And I think that when I got my diagnosis, someone close to me said, well, yeah, we all have ADHD. And that, like, it stung me a little bit, but I was like,
I hate
but
that.
we kind of all do have these like tendencies that we have been brought up to realize as like crutch as the like that's not normal. Like we have to fix that about
Yeah.
ourselves. When
Yeah.
really instead of fighting it, we've got to lean into it.
Hmm.
And I think the
Yes.
stimulation around food is one of the biggest things because a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people suffer with
Hmm.
that. If I were to take a poll, I would probably say that like boredom eating is the number one
Oh,
thing that people struggle with.
yep.
And we're just taught like, well, that's an issue. You have no willpower. You're too weak. You can't stick to your
Uh,
diet. And it's like, well, no, maybe I actually need something else. Maybe I need
yeah.
to dive deep and where is that lack of stimulation coming from?
Hmm.
And how can I fulfill that? Is that with food? Is that with
Yeah.
something else? Do I need to have a snack and a something else? And like leaning
Hmm.
into that ADHD brain is so important.
Absolutely. Because you might have an issue with the way that you eat, but you might have other issues that are
Mhm.
causing the
Mhm.
issue with the way that you eat.
Yeah.
Just like with my ADHD, whenever I feel like I need to eat something super crunchy or super salty, that might not actually be what I need. What I actually need is to get up and move. And so,
Mhm.
something for myself, whenever I'm feeling that kind of like boredom eating coming, instead of going in the kitchen to grab a snack, I go into the kitchen and I do the dishes or I sweep the floor. And obviously that's going to look different for everybody. That's just something that I do for myself, is cleaning definitely helps with my mental clarity. So, yeah, that's really powerful. I really like your four-step approach, well, your four-pillar approach. And yeah, that's just that little bit of information that you've given, I think is really helpful. Is there anything else that you would like to add into there?
I think that, we talked a little bit about diet culture. We talked a little
Mhm.
bit about like leaning into our the way that we eat and relate to food. And
Mhm.
I think one thing that I just want to say about that is something that I sort of mentioned in the beginning is that if you are struggling with the way you eat or unhappy with the way you eat or are just like, I wish I could eat this way or I wish I didn't do this or I wish I did do this. If you're unhappy in any way, then you deserve to get help with that. You deserve to repair that and heal that and feel amazing around your
Yeah,
body, around your food, around the way
absolutely
you
agree.
eat. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of people are like, yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of like, I struggle, but it's not that bad. I mean, I don't
Mm.
have like I wasn't diagnosed with an eating disorder or I wasn't, it's not so bad, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to get to that point, because you deserve to feel amazing around your body, around your food, around your eating, no matter what. So I just want to put
Yes.
that out there for anyone who's kind of like, should I, shouldn't I? Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to be happy, then 100% you should.
Mm-hmm. Well, that, and a lot of people, we grow up in this age where there's so much misinformation, even coming from people who are supposed to be credible sources. And the way that we grow up,
Yeah.
the things that we see around us is what we think is normal. And so if we grow up and we continue to think, well, this is normal, this is normal, this is normal, if we don't have the knowledge of what is actually good for us as an individual, then we don't even know that we have a disordered eating issue, or that we're just not doing what is good for us as an individual.
Agreed. And I think that like social media makes that even
Mm-hmm.
more difficult and more dangerous, because you're so right. Like, everyone is so individual, and also everyone on the internet is telling you what you're supposed to eat, how you're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to eat it, when you're supposed to eat it, how much protein you're supposed to get, how you're supposed to move, and every single message is so different. And even if, this person on the internet got success, it doesn't mean that you will, or the person
Exactly.
next to you will. And I think that's where we've really lost touch with what we as individuals need. And this
Mm-hmm.
is part of what we talk about in the intuitive eating world, is we all have our gut intuition. It's inside all of us as human beings. But as we grow older and we start to be more exposed to those messages around us, whether it's our parents or our peers or the media or diet culture, we
Mm-hmm.
start to rely on those messages, and we turn down the volume of our own gut intuition, of our
Yep.
own hunger and fullness cues, of our own cravings, of our own ways that our body is trying to talk to us. And we listen more to these external sources. And
Mm-hmm.
that ends up leaving us so confused and eventually somewhat dependent on these external sources, because we no longer have that connection with, well, what do I need? What do I feel? What does my body need? And it really can leave us feeling very stuck. And the good news is that you can repair those
Yes.
signals. You can repair that relationship with yourself. It takes work, but you can totally get back to that place. And that's kind of where I found for myself, and I feel like a lot of other women have found, they get to that place where they're like, well, now I'm just eating normally. I
Mm-hmm.
am just eating what I want. I am just eating when I'm hungry. And I am kind of just stopping when I'm full, because I really rebuilt that connection with my body, that I can trust those things.
Yes, I love that. I love that you've had those outcomes for other people, help them reach those outcomes. And
Yeah.
I something that I've learned is, on everyone's healing journey, one of the most important things is you learn, and then you have to teach yourself how to unlearn and
Oh,
relearn again.
oh,
And I'm
yes.
sure that's huge for your food freedom.
100%. And I think that's why I said before as well, our journeys are never over. We're never
Hmm.
fully healed, because we're consistently learning and unlearning and relearning and unlearning and growing. And it's beautiful.
Hmm.
It's amazing. And I think, when you, going back to mindset, when you have a growth mindset, that process is exciting and
Yes.
exhilarating, and it's beautiful. But when you're stuck in that sort of fixed mindset, it can be scary,
Hmm.
it can be hard, and it can feel paralyzing. So really just changing your mindset to consistently be open to growth and change and learning and unlearning makes the whole process just that much more beautiful and attainable. And we're all always doing it. Like, I feel very comfortable with my food and my body. And one thing that I'm looking at now is like, well, what's my relationship like with alcohol? I've been
Hmm.
questioning that recently. I've been analyzing that. I've been looking at that. I've been
Hmm.
trying to be aware of that. And that's the next part of my healing journey, is what
Hmm.
does that look like? And it's always ever evolving.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. I love that. And I love how you are open enough to share that you're not completely healed and that you still have work to do.
I think, if you want to start with some things at home today, really taking that mindful eating exercise and describing your food with every sense, with all of your five senses while
Mm-hmm.
you eat it. And I think that, I would love for everyone to be able to take home some mindset activities, because we know that's where it all starts.
Yes.
And this might sound, again, kind of hippy dippy. I sort of felt this way too when I first started doing it, but I still do it to this day. And that is journaling every morning. And it's not like it takes 5 minutes. I'm not recounting my entire day and writing paragraphs.
Right.
Every morning before I start my day, I list 5 things that I'm thankful for, 5 things that I did really well in the last 24 hours, and 5 affirmations.
Oh, I love that.
And those affirmations are statements about myself that I don't feel are completely true yet, but I really want them to be true.
Yes.
And so I'm saying them out loud to myself. And again, I don't care if you guys think this is hippy dippy stuff. It works.
Yes.
And that's why I do it to this day. And this is what's going to shift your mindset
Mm-hmm.
into that growth mindset. This
Mm-hmm.
is what's going to start training your brain to look for the positive things, look for the good out there, because we're so fixed on what's negative about ourselves, what's negative in our scenarios. And this activity might take you more than 5 minutes the first couple of times. But the point is, you're training your brain to, you don't have to strain as hard to see, well, what were 5 things I did really well?
Mm-hmm.
You're training your brain to be like, these are 5 things I did really well. They're right there in front of me. I see them all the time. And changing that mindset as well is what is going to bring out that confident side of you, because you have this evidence in front of you every day that you're doing amazing
Mm-hmm.
things.
Yes, I love that. And I know I often say too, like a lot of this, a lot of the tips that I give might seem super simple, like practicing gratitude. And you're like, how could this possibly work? It is way too simple. But
Mm-hmm.
it's important to start with the simple steps, the easy steps, and
Yes,
then slowly work your way up. You don't want to start with the absolute biggest step and then you get into it and you fail and then you just completely stop and give up. So
100%.
I really love starting with the small stuff and working your way up. And I love it. I think you have that same approach.
Yeah, it's starting small. It's like building a muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not going to walk into the gym and bench press 200 pounds.
No.
Like, it just is not going to happen. You've got to work your way up. And again, when I first started these things and started this approach, I was like, ugh, that's not going to work. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's so simple. Like, what? But if that's kind of what's going on, maybe the way to think about it is, well, then how would it hurt me if I just did it anyway?
Yeah, it's not going to
So
hurt.
simple. Why don't I just do it
Yeah.
and see what happens?
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely love that. Is there any other take home examples you'd like to give?
I think that one other thing that we touched on it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're struggling with something like boredom eating, or you're like, I don't even know, like, if I'm hungry or if I'm full, or my go-to is to always, grab a bag of chips when I want to relax.
Mm-hmm.
I would love for people to do just like a mindful body scan
Yes.
when they're in that state, and really question, like, okay, am I hungry or am I full? If I'm not really physically hungry, but I'm still feeling that like tingling to go to the chips, ask yourself, do I need social interaction? Do I need to get out in nature? Do I need to move my body? Do I need to do something that's like mentally stimulating, like a puzzle or read? Do I need to do something else with my hands that makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel good? And what you're doing is you're looking for all of these other parts of you that might be empty,
Mm-hmm.
that might need to be filled, that we constantly confuse with the physical that
Mm-hmm.
needs to be filled. And when the physical is empty, we're hungry,
Yes.
and we fill the physical with food. But it might be your social battery, it might be your mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual. It might be all of these other pieces of you that are empty that need to be filled, that don't need to be filled with food.
Yes.
So really questioning that and asking yourself, what else might make me feel full right now? If I'm not really hungry, but I kind of want the food.
Yes, I love that. There's such a big mind and body connection that a lot of people don't understand. A lot
Yeah.
of people don't realize that your mind truly does affect your body. And so, if your body is suffering in some ways, there might be some areas of your mind that's suffering as well that you need to work on.
Yeah.
So, I love how you bring the mind and body together in that way. That's really good.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I think, yeah, just implementing these small things, like we said, it seems so small, it seems so insignificant, but you start to do these things every day and you really start to notice
Hmm.
beautiful shifts.
Wonderful. I love that. Do you mind sharing some ways that people could contact you or book with you or like the best place to follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. I hang out the most on Instagram. So my
Okay.
Instagram is meg.hanks. You can find me there.
Okay.
I also do have a Facebook group. It's called Stop Yo-Yo Dieting and Binging for Good. And every Tuesday I run free trainings like how to eat mindfully. We go through that whole how to eat with all your five senses. So many other types of trainings like that I do every
Wonderful.
Tuesday. So it's a great place to get some more information, contact me, and really jumpstart your own journey on healing your relationship with food and your body.
Wonderful. I will make sure to put your Instagram tag and the name of your Facebook group in the description of this podcast so that people can easily find you. And then I also plan to tag you in some Instagram posts if that's okay with you as well.
Of course,
Awesome.
absolutely.
Great. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we hop off?
I think we covered a lot. I
Yeah,
just
we
want to
did.
reiterate that, again, if anyone's kind of questioning this or they're like, is this right for me or not? If you're ready to just feel good and happy around your food, then yes, this is right for
Mm-hmm.
you.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you so much, Meg, for taking time out of your day to speak to me and all my followers. And I look forward to the information that people are going to be able to apply.
Thank you for doing this. This was such a
Yes.
lovely conversation.
Yes. Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye.